From the Daily Mail, Trump plans to kick transgender troops out of the military with 15,000 service members to be medically discharged on his first day in office. The controversial order would cause as many as 15,000 to be medically discharged. Trump seeks to issue an executive action on January 20th, 2025 on day one of his term, the Times said, preventing any transgender people from enlisting in the military as all branches continue to struggle with recruitment. I've actually heard that following Pete Hegseth's announcement, they've seen recruitment and Trump's election, enlistment numbers have been going up. Have you guys heard that?
No, not yet.
I've not heard anything about it, but I'd be interested to see some kind of evidence. Look, you can. I was tweeting about this today. You can get sent home or get disqualified for any number of what in normal society are completely and totally irrelevant to most jobs, conditions. You could have ADD, you could have you could be flat-footed, you could be, you could have some kind of allergies, I think, are some of the things that you can get, some kind of food allergies. Any number of things can disqualify you for military service. The idea that gender dysphoria would not disqualify you, in my opinion, is ridiculous. Like that should have been totally obvious.
Is bulimia?
Eating disorders were named, yeah. So both bulimia and anorexia could be. And clearly, if you overeat, that'll get you. You'll fail a PT test. So it could be
120. So from 2013 to 2017, 124 active duty service members were discharged as a result of eating disorders.
Yeah, and so the idea that people with gender dysphoria, would be allowed, I think it's totally
the question,
ridiculous.
the return question to that, right? Mm-hmm. And all of those dismissals are ultimately predicated upon the inability to perform a function, mm-hmm. right? So if you have an eating disorder of some kind, you can't really be expected to perform your fundamental mission, whatever that might be, whatever your MOS is, whether you're infantry or a cook. If you have an eating disorder, that's going to be detrimental to that. The fundamental question that I would actually kind of throw out at the table here is, does gender dysphoria ultimately cause one to be unable to perform their mission, right? Because that's how I've always looked at topics mm-hmm. like this is, we have kind of shaped the military into this almost inclusive effort that everybody's individual perspectives, who they feel about themselves, is what matters more necessarily than our ability to be lethal, right? Yeah. So from my perspective, ultimately, regardless of what your condition is in the military, if that keeps you from being able to perform your fundamental mission, and a part of that is being a part of a cohesive team, it doesn't matter what that condition is for me, because your identity doesn't matter when you put your uniform on. That's how I've always looked at that, but I'm interested to kind of throw that question back out. Does gender dysphoria lead to an inability to perform your fundamental mission?
It depends on how you define being transsexual. If that's the phrase, does it mean that you took bottom surgery? Because then, that's going to be, if you got scar tissue and you need a catheter or whatever the hell, these tools, that could be a problem. But if it's just this burly dude that kicks ass and then he's like, I'm a woman, but he's still a beast on the field, he can still be a soldier.
Can you do that again?
I'm a woman. He can pull it off. No one's going to care if he gets the job done.
So I have a question. If you have body dysmorphic disorder, mm-hmm. They can discharge you if you want these treatments. I think what's the disorder called? The dissociative body identity disorder or something like that. Mm-hmm. Let me try and look this up.
What's it called again? I'll look it up. You go ahead.
It's a disorder where you want to remove a body part.
Yeah.
So there are people who want to remove their hands.
Yeah.
And they have done horrifying things where they body integrity dysphoria.
How can this even be a discussion that somebody with that problem could be in any level of responsibility?
Well, because people would say they were gay to get out of the Vietnam draft, and they weren't.
I want to clarify something.
Hey, come on.
Gender dysphoria, where someone seeks medical transition, includes body integrity dysphoria. So body integrity dysphoria is individuals that feel a specific body part does not belong to them or is alien. So if there's an individual who has male parts and they want to have that removed, that means that people with gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria also have body integrity dysphoria.
It's like a subcategory of body integrity disorder.
Other way around. Body integrity disorder can exist within people who are experiencing gender dysphoria.
Well, I think anybody
Like women
I
who
see
want to
what you're
remove
saying.
their breasts.
But then you
They
might
feel
have
like it's
gender
not
dysphoria,
part of
but
their
you
body.
don't want to remove a part. You're saying you might still have a gender dysphoric state of mind without wanting to remove something.
Yes, perhaps. I don't know. I'm saying that typically what we see is females wanting to remove their breasts, which would be in line with body integrity dysphoria.
This is what I'm wondering. What's the official definition?
Well, my
of
point
trans
is,
at this stage, because if you're going to remove people that don't have any body dysmorphia, but they just think they're a different sex, is that really a reason to not be in the military? I don't know. I can't see how that would affect your mission. I mean,
I would say if you are having trouble aligning yourself with your physical presence, it's probably grounds for discharge. You know, the people who are serving in the military need to be effective and lethal to protect this country and our allies overseas. And if somebody is feeling an incongruence between their mind and body, that I believe would affect their ability to do their job. And I don't care what that form that takes. I'm not saying gender. I'm saying if somebody's like, my hand feels alien to me and I need it off, it's like, okay, well, this person's going to not be able to function to the extreme. Like, let's put it this way. How many people, what percentage of people do you think are capable to serve effectively in the military?
Ronnie?
I don't know, 0.5%.
A small percentage of people have the capability to be the best of the best to serve. Now, certainly you're going to have people say like, yeah, but there are people in the military who are doing paperwork and stuff like that. I don't think we want to be in the habit of saying we'll take literally anybody and then find a place for them.
Yeah.
No, you can't. So, like I was saying earlier, we've kind of gotten away from the military's fundamental mission, right? The fundamental mission for the military is to be lethal, right? Whether you're a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, that is ultimately, whether you're combat arms, combat support, that is ultimately the mission that you are an enabler for. I do find the assimilation piece to this one that's interesting. So, I've got a lot of friends that went through the Special Operations Forces pipeline, and one of the criteria for them to continue through or pass is the ability to assimilate as a part of the team. And that's ultimately where my mind goes as the most impactful, but it still very simply boils back to me personally. I went to Afghanistan twice. Can you perform your fundamental mission? Can you do your job, right? If you can do your job, which ultimately does include setting yourself aside, selfless service being one of those, tenets and core values, if you're able to do that, then you should be afforded the opportunity to serve. But again, it boils back to selfless service. Can you assimilate as a part of a team? Can you focus on something not yourself? That's where I think we have this issue, one of these issues in the military right now, that I'm starting to get a little bit excited about some of the pathways that are being taken, where we're prioritizing individualism rather than ultimately, again, the ultimate mission, which is to be lethal, to be able to maintain the crown. Heavy is the crown, and we need our military to be able to do that. So if we start to focus a little bit more on that as a fundamental, right? Rather than, who are you as an individual? You're a soldier, you're a sailor, you're an airman, you're a Marine, you're a Coast Guardsman. Some people, most of you have seen that video of the Coastie banging on the top of that sub.
Yeah.
That is
Total BA. Total BA.
I could watch that every day and still not feel full from watching it, right? But that attitude, he's not doing that, as an individual. He's doing that as a part of an overarching member of a team, and he is able to fulfill his function. Can you do your mission? That's my question. Regardless of what you call yourself, what gender you are, I don't care. Can you fulfill your function?
So do you agree with Trump's position on this then?
No, I wouldn't say I would, largely because I think it has to be pulled back a layer, right? I think there are going to be some individuals in that 15,000 that absolutely could be a part of fulfilling a mission. But again, you have to be able to set your individualism aside. And one of the larger issues that comes along with this is individualism, is the me. This is what I want to call myself. So
I think the other issue is that this is affecting recruitment severely. Mm-hmm. I think the woke elements of the military have resulted in people resigning their commissions or just outright not wanting to enlist. And I've personally met maybe like 2 or 3 people who said, I remember one guy a couple years ago, he was a captain, and he said it was his goal and his dream to be a careerist and retire. And he's in his mid-30s, says, nah, I resigned. I can't be a part of whatever this is.
So
The ideological divide here, I think the issue is, like, you could say a person who is transgender can easily serve, not if it creates a hyper-political divide to the point where you're going to have someone who's going to say, this is a DSM-5 mental disorder that is in line with a whole bunch of mental disorders we would not allow in the military. The military is broken. It has been politicized, and I don't want to be a part of it.
So that goes back once again to what I was saying earlier. You have to be able to assimilate. So if
cohesion and stuff.
So cohesion is a part of that, right? Now, how exactly we measure that, and how I might not be intelligent enough to understand how exactly to employ that. But I do know that there is a recruiting crisis, right? I do know, as a member of the military, that I still think that it is a positive to serve, right? I still believe in our institutions. I think it's a positive to serve. And there is something that is keeping people from being a part of the military, right? So if there are people out there that can do that, and they happen to fall into this category of 15,000, I don't know where that number comes from.
I mean, it's the drag queens that we see in the military ads, the promotion. It's the appointment of people who are, I think when you've got a lot of people who... Let's go back to the Army commercial that went viral, where it was a cartoon about a girl saying, I have two moms. And then you look at everybody cheering on the Russian commercial, where it's like a guy jumping out of a plane and landing. One was a male ego action movie, and one was a feel-good, like drama for women.
And it probably didn't actually recruit the type of people you wanted in the military anyway. If you're what is the military's job? Blow things up. Take care of the bad guys, right? In essence, and the kind of people who are excited about two mommies and having the drag queen sitting next to you in a sub, you don't want them in your military. Sorry, I don't think so. I'm totally with Trump. I shock everybody.
I think the issue might just be with, like, if you want to live your life, you want to do your thing, like, by all means, like, go ahead and do it. But if if the overwhelming majority of people might say we're tolerant of this, but it doesn't mean they want to be involved in the administration that's doing it. I think it's not just about transgender soldiers, but this is a component of what is leading to recruitment shortfalls.
Yeah.
And guys, this is not only is it leading to less people joining the military because they don't want to be a part of that. But think of the long-term implications. I mean, if you look at transgender people, they commit suicide at rates.
It's like 30 to 40%. It's horrifying.
Yeah, it's terrible. And there's clearly something wrong. You don't want those people in the military.
They need help.
One of the things we do very poorly,
assistance to live better lives.
One of the things we do very poorly from a selection perspective, there need to be better mental aptitude tests. This across government. So let's just step beyond just the military. I think mental acuity, mental aptitude, that needs to be tested a little bit more from a service perspective. More of a fundamental approach on the service aspect to that. Setting the individual, I'm going to go back to the same word. I'm sorry I keep beating this word, but setting the individual aside. I think if the focus shifts back to that, from a fundamental perspective, our military is off in a better direction. I don't think this specifically is itself the biggest issue. I think it is, a discussion to have as a part of a greater problem. Again, getting our military away from what it's designed and meant to do, which is be lethal.
Yeah. I mean, look at this.
Gosh, look at this.
This was a huge story. This is why why would someone, look, you go to a young guy, he has a sense of adventure, he has a sense of duty, he wants to fight, he wants to protect, he wants to serve, and then they're like, you'll be under this guy. He's like, not interested.
So they're gone. Peace out.
So there are a litany of problems with this, right? Yeah. So that is against AR 670-1. That dude immediately, 670-1 is the uniform standard for the U.S. Army, right? So it tells you what you can and can't wear.
Ronnie here throwing out the regulation.
I'm sorry, man. This one drove me up the wall because that is. There are standards, right? Every military needs to have standards. It needs to set baselines. Of course, you'll have units and capabilities that exceed those. But across the force, there has to be, once again, a standard because it's meant for everybody to be effectively the same. Yeah. You wear the uniform to wear the uniform, not as an accessory.
Yep.
That's what he's doing in this photo here. And to be frank, it's BS. So he needed to be held accountable. I don't recall whether or not he eventually was, but that to me is not performing your function. That is a full bird colonel, not performing his function.
If they're doing the same thing in drag,
Yeah.
what's the difference?
It's a uniform.
If it's on their free time, how does it impact
No,
the mission?
he's talking about if they're
uniform.
wearing if you're a man wearing a woman's uniform, you're essentially in drag and military uniform. Now,
Well, so
and,
that's
and they
where it gets
post
weird.
videos where they're in uniform and then they wipe the camera and then they're in drag.
yeah,
I'm like, is that allowed?
there's one.
'Cause they promoted that intentionally. They promoted these individuals. They paid to market that.
There's one thing that I want to say that this gets into a little bit of the whole philosophy behind the left, right? And what's going on here is exemplified. So the left likes to go ahead and say things like we want to center the marginalized, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're taking the people that are on the fringes and they're making them the focus and the center of discussion. And just like you said, Ronnie, it's supposed to be the military is supposed to be nameless and faceless. There's no. I remember I was in the military for a second. They used to always say there's no. Black Marines, there's no white Marines, there's just green Marines.
Marines.
Everybody's green, all green Marines. And that's the way that it was. But if you have people that are transgender or have some kind of weird kink that they want to wear a dog mask in uniform, this is centering, and by the powers that be or the establishment saying this is acceptable, that is centering the marginalized in an arena where centering the marginalized is absolutely unacceptable. So this is not about whether they're functional or not. This is about rooting out leftist philosophy.
Setting that foundation poor right out of the gate.
Exactly.
I get
So
that.
get rid of the leftist philosophy in the military.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.